Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Back to do two videos for you here today. One is my Maggie Evans character retrospective from the 1991 Dark Shadows revival. So I'll get to this video first. You guys will be really happy with my second one too. It's going to be fun. Um, so Ellie Poget is cast as Maggie Evans in the 1991 Dark Shadows revival, which again only lasted one season. Now, how does her character differ from Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans? Quite frankly, a lot. I mean, look, for example, yes, their fathers' names are the same, but that's where that begins and ends really for me. Um, you know, Kathleen Lee Scott's Maggie Evans, her Sam Evans was a painter. He was a man who was troubled by not just the death of his wife, but what he did to try to say to get help for his wife, only to be, it turned out in vain. Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans, her father, Sam Evans, he had accepted money from Roger Collins, a lot of money, in fact, $1,000, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I love being corrected. And so, this morning slash afternoon is already turning out fun, right? So you have this painter whose wife is sick. Now, in the original series, we don't exactly find out what Maggie's mother, Sam's wife, is sick from. Now, in my opinion and guess, it was cancer. I mean, simply by the way David Ford sort of plays this and tones it seems something a lot darker that he doesn't want to say, or I don't know if they weren't, were or weren't allowed to say that word on TV. They may have not have been. But that's sort of what I take away from it. If you disagree and think it was something else, please let me know in the comment section. I'm glad to hear from you and hear it. I mean, look, Dark Shadows has several theories out there. Fan theories are excellent beyond. And, I'm welcome to open suggestions or theories on what um, Sam's wife died from in the original series. Like, definitely there's a lot of there could be open suggestiveness. But I do think, in my opinion, and I want to stress that, it was cancer. And again, that's the feeling I get when I hear David Ford talk about it. Um, so he accepted money to give false testimony against his friend, Bert Devlin, someone he cared very dearly for, and it aided him and caused him to drink alcohol. Now, Ellie Poget's Maggie Evans, Sam Evans, now real quick, where Catherine Lee Scott's Sam Evans would go to the Blue Whale and drink his sorrows away, if you will. Ellie Poget's Maggie Evans, her Sam Evans, he owned the goddamn Blue Whale, which was interesting. I really like what the revival does here with these characters. Sam is now the owner of the Blue Whale. He's not your painter who it takes a bunch of shit. Actually, he's very loud. And not that David Ford wasn't. He was. I mean, David Ford, Sam Evans could be loud at Maggie, at other people, even at Burke, at Roger. He would bellow. And really, in the original, you sort of get where Maggie got her 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 sassiness from. In my opinion, it was from her father. It was from Sam that she got that sassiness. Ellie Poget's Maggie Evans, from my view, I didn't detect a lot of sass. I didn't walk away, getting that same feeling. And for a lot of the reasons of this is when she gets talked down, not necessarily down to, but told, hey, it's none of your business. she's very sort of quiet when Roger tells her this. Played by Roger Collins in the 1991 revival was played by Roy Finnis. If I butchered that last name, I apologize. Again, I'm not the greatest with names, so I'm not the greatest with my own name. Um, so I kid. But here you have this very interesting dynamic. Maggie Evans um, is, you know, sleeping with Roger Collins in the 1991 revival. They're having sex, and for a lot of reasons. One, Maggie is sleeping with Roger because the blue whale, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was financed by the Collins family, and Roger keeps track of that thing. Two, I do think Maggie is actually interested in Roger Collins. No, not just for the sexual prowess, but I think she's starting to develop feelings for him in the 1991 revival. And here's why I say this. There's a moment where we're post sex. Roy Finnis is laying his head on her lap, and she's sort of stroking, and she has this look of fear and concern, not just for herself, but for Roger. And it's like, well, if you didn't give a shit, if you were just there for the money and the sex, God, that sounds wrong. But if you were there for just those two reasons, I don't think you would be trying to communicate with this man about certain feelings. And that's the one thing Ellie Pogut does really, Ellie Pogut does a lot of great things, but this is something I'll always appreciate of her, Maggie Evans. Though she wasn't, Catherine Lee Scott's, she didn't have Catherine Lee Scott's sassiness of Maggie Evans. She had her own sort of way of communicating with her body language where she's sort of, hey, I'm concerned for you. And she even brings it up to Roger about the concerns. And he brushes her off. It's none of her business. But when she walks away, I always get the feeling that she was walking away. Hey, I'll take an L in this battle, but I'll be back. Always gathered that feeling from Ellie Pogut's Maggie Evans in the 1991 revival. Now, in the original series, was was there a sexual relationship between Lewis Edmonds' Roger Collins and Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans? Hell no. No, but not by. Look, you want to talk about shocking? There's where the revival shocked you because in the original series, Maggie Evans could not stand Roger and what she felt Roger and somewhat of Roger's family had done to her father. She felt that her father's drinking was was the Collins' fault, and she's not really wrong. It's Roger's fault, really. Roger, pays him. He says, "Hey, please lie for me in court." Um, an anonymous witness, if you will, and he does this. So, Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans, I've talked about her sassiness. She's very sassy. She's confrontational pretty much with everybody. She has no problem telling people how it is, whether it's Victoria Winters, whether it's Joe Haskell, whether it's Burke Devlin, whether it's her father, whether it's Roger Collins or any member of the Collins family. Catherine Lee Scott, and look, Ellie Pogut's a great actress. I love them both. I think they both bring their own sort of style to each character. Where where Catherine Lee Scott sort of has this sassiness and cares for her father, you get now. Keep in mind, in the original, Maggie Evans, at first, if you watch the beginning episodes, wasn't in a relationship with anybody. But then she notices young Joe Haskell and she becomes interested and they begin dating after Joe breaks it off with Carolyn. So, and again, in the 1991 revival, Maggie's not with Joe, but she's in a very, very sexual relationship with one Roger Collins, as I've talked about here. So what are the other differences? One of the big one, look, Catherine Lee Scott's Maggie Evans did get in storylines where she sort of saw things. Now, was she a medium in the revival? Not really directly a medium, but there were moments where Maggie was shown things, and again, there were many, many storylines in the original. Now, in the revival, what they do to sort of give this character a full, fresh coat of paint, not only having her sleep with Roger, they make her an actual medium where she can see things. Now, she does have a vision about Carolyn. There is a vision I sort of wish we would have got in the revival, and it's a conversation. It's one of my favorite conversations in a revival. It's a conversation between her and Victoria Winters, who's played by Joanna Goins. In it, they're sitting outside and they're having a conversation, and Maggie Evans tells Victoria Winters, "Hey, David is like his mother. He's dangerous. David's mother. I've had these visions. David's mother wants to kill me. David's mother is a witch." Now, some people might say, well, why doesn't she say Phoenix? And that's a great question. Now, I can only give you my opinion and theory. And if you disagree with that, again, please let me know. If you have another one, I'm all happy to hear it. With the 1991 revival, my take on this is because we don't, again, it's a vision we don't see. We don't see the Phoenix, right? We don't see what Maggie exactly saw in her dream of David's mother. So I'm guessing that he either saw a woman standing in fire, sort of like the painting that in the original where Sam Evans draws, Laura in fire, or she saw a woman standing there with a flame on her finger. And, witches have powers. So what, Laura's power we know is the Phoenix, but Maggie, maybe in the 1991 revival, because again, Dark Shadows didn't mention pop culture or other things. And I think that's something with the revival. It's not trying to say, oh, Phoenix or this or that. So I think that, in my opinion, Maggie Evans saw Laura with a flame on her finger and thought, oh, she must be a witch, deducting it, not really knowing what exactly she is. So she just labels her because she hasn't her. I don't think Maggie's, because we do get a vision of a better vision of Carolyn, but I gather that not all of Maggie's visions are as clear cut as that. Some are sort of scrambly, like a television, if you will, an old time TV where, hey, good signal, mediocre signal. I do sort of get that sense from the 1991 Maggie Evans, who's played by Ellie Poget. And I really, really enjoy the hell out of her. She's really fun to watch when she's on screen. And I always thought, I sort of wish they would have did a little more with her. I do think they were going to do a ton with her if there would have been a season two, because of two reasons. One, again, she does get Angelique out of Dr. Hoffman's body, but Angelique body hops into her because of her being a medium and being able to do certain things. So I definitely think they had big plans for Ellie Poget in the if there would have been a season two for the 1991 Dark Shadows revival. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please let me know your thoughts on the Ellie Poget's Maggie Evans.